Welcome to the Valley Today, a public service presentation of KAIL-TV. Energy demand is on the upswing, and so are costs for heating and cooling your home. Heat loss and gain take place primarily through your ceiling and roof. Join us as we visit with Garrett Harwood of Eagle Shield to learn more about stopping energy loss. It's all next on the Valley Today. And welcome to the Valley Today. We are with Garrett Harwood here, and you are with Eagle Shield. And Eagle Shield is a unique company. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, we're a one-stop energy store. We specialize in everything from insulatable values to window technology to solar technology, photovoltaic, solar attic fans, coatings, anything that deals with helping a home save energy and increase the comfort level is what we do.
And so rather than looking at energy as how much energy can I get, now we're looking at how much energy can I save by being smart and insulating my home properly, doing the doors and windows, and making it more energy efficient.
Well, actually, even before this segment started, you were asking me questions about solar, and a lot of my commercials I explain to the public that until you lower your load, until you make the home energy efficient, you really haven't earned the right to go solar yet, because by going solar, basically what you're saying is I have all this wasted energy in my homes. I'm not insulated right, my lights are not right, my windows aren't right, my ventilation's not right, and let me buy and pay thousands and thousands of dollars for panels that I don't need to cover up my roof space to get rid of waste. So what we try to do is say, first things first, we perform an energy audit using thermal imaging. This little unit is $9,000. It could find heat loss, heat gain, anywhere, ventilation, mold. And what we do is we do an 18-point audit, we assess the home, and then we say, well, if you did this to your home, and you did this, and you did this, that lowers your load. A lot of times when we do that, you don't have a need for solar, but we also do solar ourselves. So if you have a need, now instead of you putting 30 panels on your roof, we do 19 panels, and you save a lot of money that way.
So I was right. We're going in the opposite direction. We're not looking at energy as a resource, but we're looking at the savings as the way to go.
Well, there's a joke. PG&E stands for pay gas then eat.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is help people become more energy efficient, but I want to delve onto the most important thing to people. The reason your utility bills are high is because you want to be comfortable.
Right.
Being comfortable, I tell people all the time, you could be miserable in life. You could be miserable at work. Don't be miserable in your own home. That's the ultimate tragedy. This is where you escape to. So work on comfort first. That makes your home energy efficient. You save money as the byproduct.
You brought up an interesting point, because we were talking about the tiered system of energy that you buy from the utility. And the first tier, the cost is a lot lower per, I guess, kilowatt hour, right?
Your first and second tier go from 8 cents a kilowatt to 11 cents a kilowatt. That is government subsidized money. You're never going to get energy cheaper than that.
For so many kilowatts, and then once you exceed that, then it really hits, it's astronomical.
That's correct.
And that's where you guys come in.
Well, yes, because what we like to do, have you ever heard the term perform an examination then prescribe? Well, I think that's ridiculous. I say that as a joke. Okay, I walk in as a doctor, I look at you and say, okay, let's cut off your arm. Okay, well, I did an examination, I prescribed.
Yeah.
Where is literally...
That's really going to affect my ability to play the piano.
Exactly right. The first thing you do is you do a full energy analysis of the environment. That's the examination. Then we can make a diagnosis.
Right.
Then we prescribe.
We don't make the diagnosis first. We do the homework first.
And so that's what this unit does. This a camera uses over 1,080 digital pixels. This uses over 1 million.
Yeah.
So what it will do is find out where your heat loss, heat gain, mold, ventilation, so we know what we know. But before you can solve a problem, you have to know what the problem is.
Right.
And here is what a lot of people are unaware of. 80% of heat loss and heat gain is ceiling. 80%. In the wintertime, heat rises by convection. That's why cats sleep on the roofs. Second-story homes are warmer than the first story because heat's rising. In the summertime, radiant heat beats down. The hottest part of the day, ask yourself, outside from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, it's the hottest part of the day.
Yeah.
Why are you miserable 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock?
Because it's already trapped that energy, right?
Well,
or has it
yes
lost
and
that
no.
energy?
Well, here's the answer. Here's what's actually happening. People have in their attic old style insulation that's based upon thickness.
Right.
R11, R19, R30 simply means 3 inches, 5 inches, 8 inches, which literally means you getting miserable at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 8 o'clock at night. All your insulation is a sponge. It was never designed to stop heat. It was just designed to slow it down, like a sponge to water.
Sure.
So the problem is all day long you have this mean radiant temperature load. 80% of your heat loss and heat gain is ceiling. In the wintertime, heat is rising. Now, what are you trying to do? You flip a switch, you're cycling airflow to try to fix a problem that's already invaded. So the solution actually was designed out of this world. It was done by NASA. See, in space application, NASA has a far, far deeper problem. When they face the sun, it's 250 degrees above zero, 38 above boiling. But at the same moment, at the same time, the shadowy side facing deep space is minus 460 degrees below zero.
So you got a 700-degree swing.
710 degrees happening at the exact same moment, the exact same time. So when they looked at insulating, they says, well, we obviously can't use that because it's just thickness. So what are you going to do? Have 58 feet of insulation in an astronaut arm?
Yeah.
You can't function,
It's
you
ridiculous.
can't get into space.
Right.
So they created high-performance reflective insulation. You may notice now, you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco, you look up, you see that aluminum blanket everywhere you go.
Right.
You may notice all the new air conditioning heating ducts are now wrapped with it instead of the old fiberglass. So what you have is you have two types of insulation. Old style thickness, been around 100 years, technology hasn't changed, and reflective insulation, that's the way you insulate now. Now what that does is if your home can handle it, and we do examination to make sure, when we put that in your attic, now 97% of the unwanted heat is reflected completely away. That drops your internal temperature 8 to 10 degrees instantly.
So that works for the summer.
Yes.
How does it work for the winter?
In the wintertime when you heat, now your audience and you, think about this. Most people, it's kind of ridiculous really, they have their vents on the ceiling.
Right.
Okay, which means that they're putting your air conditioning heating ducts in a 150 degree attic or in a cold winter attic.
Yeah.
That's not like back east where we were talking about going to college. Back east, they had the vents on the floor. Because you can't put them in the attic, they'd freeze because of the extreme, Buffalo, New York,
right.
Places like that. Well, here in California, we stick our ducts in the attic, and what happens with that? You're cycling your cool air summer and your warm air winter. So what we try to share with people is the most important thing is when we insulate in the attic in the wintertime, heat rises, now it reflects and stays in the home.
Okay.
So that's very important, because you run your heater and your air up to 70% less, which translates to a huge savings off your utility bill.
So really the heater and the air conditioner are fairly efficient. It's what the house is doing, what the ducting is doing, and the old style of insulation is just it's all wrong.
Well, it was right in its day. It's nobody's fault.
Right.
It's just, there's an old joke. You know, why are those fourth grade desks so small?
Yeah.
So they don't fit at age 21. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to evolve. But we keep putting in insulation. That's 100-year-old technology.
Sure.
All insulation is designed to do, it's actually a better soundproofer. That's its best benefit, to muffle sound. But for thermal protection, it's obsolete. When you put in reflective insulation, simply now you keep the heat you want in the winter, and you keep the heat you don't want out in the summer. And why is that important? Because 80% of all heat loss and heat gain is ceiling. Because heat rises winter, heat beats down summer.
Right.
11% is walls and windows. 8% is crawl space when you're not on slab, and 1% is weather stripping caulking. So here's the good news. As this home is an example, you literally are blessed because you live in California, so you're not dealing with Buffalo, New York temperatures.
Right.
Number two, your attic square footage is so much greater than the wall square footage, so when you fix the attic right, That pretty much solves it. So now you run your heater and air up to 70% less. That lowers your utility bill. But most importantly, you're now comfortable because you're not getting the, well, better answer is explain it. All day long, you have this mean radiant temperature gain, soaks up in your attic. We have a joke. Radiant heat travels 93 million miles from the sun at the speed of light. It travels all that way at 186,282 miles per second. Takes 8 minutes to get here. If the sun blew up right now, we wouldn't know it for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
It hits our atmosphere, comes down 250 miles to the hard roof of your house that you could physically walk on. Conducts through your roof, that's why your attic's 150 degrees in the summer, right? And people think they're going to stop that with 5 inches of insulation after it traveled 93 million miles. And they wonder why drapes fade and carpetings fade and people are miserable. So all day long you have this radiant temperature load, and what do? You go to a thermostat trying to read it. How many times has a wife gone up to a thermostat and said, why does it say I'm comfortable? I'm miserable. That's because your thermostat was never designed to read mean radiant temperature. Stand in the sun, stand in the shade. It's the same temperature, 95 degrees.
Right.
Why are you cooler in the shade? A reduced amount of radiation striking.
Right.
But your thermostat can't read that. So what do? You have all this mean radiant temperature gain dumping into your home and escaping in the winter. You run your air and heater and you're cycling airflow to try to fix a problem that's already invaded. By putting in high performance reflective insulation, now you solve the problem rather than slow down the problem. And as we go inside, we'll be able to show it.
So is that reflective radiation work both ends? It works for the sun and it also works in the winter when you're trying to heat the house?
Great question. Let me answer it in a very simple thing. An astronaut uniform, $278,000. It has ventilation, it has communication, it has waste disposal. Guess what's the number one thing that's never been put in an astronaut uniform ever?
I don't know.
A heater. Why? Because your body is the heater and it reflects the body heat back on.
So you're already at 98 degrees, so you're good to go.
Even though it's minus
as long as you can manage all that heat within the suit.
Real simple, think of your thermos bottle. Open up your thermos bottle, there's silver reflective insulation. What does it do? It keeps cool what you want cool, it keeps warm what you want warm. That's what reflective insulation does for you. It keeps the heat you want in the winter in, so it doesn't escape out and you're paying your money to heat the world, and in the summer it keeps the heat you don't want out.
Yeah.
That's the biggest benefit.
Right. And you've got a little demonstration of insulation here.
Yes. What this is a accelerated heat mechanism. Simulates 2 homes. What you have is standard R19 fiberglass insulation in both chambers. Mm-hmm. You have 2 cooking thermometers. As you zoom in right now, you will see that the temperature is right at about, I'd say 75 to 80. And you'll be able to see the temperatures. Yeah. And these are 2 250 watt heat lamps.
Okay.
And what I'll do is, if you can stand right here, I'll just show you kinesthetically what happens. So this is a 250 watt heat lamp. I'll plug this in right here. And let me just use the front of your hand. Okay, this is the tough part, so let's use this part so you can feel the heat.
Yep.
Okay, just keep it there.
Okay.
So this is the high performance reflective insulation. So what this is 99.5% pure industrial grade aluminum, 2-sided for a 2-sided reflector. Now, to the uneducated eye, people look at this and they think it's aluminum foil. What I like to share with people is comparing aluminum foil to this is like comparing a Yugo to a Rolls Royce. Aluminum foil is 22% aluminum. The rest is metal that conducts heat. That's why you can slowly cook a turkey by wrapping it with foil, because the metal will conduct. If you wrap that turkey with this, it's going to gobble at you and come back to life. It ain't cooking, because this reflects 97%. So what you'll see is you can feel the heat.
It's going to gobble at you and come back to life. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, big difference.
So it's gone. Now that's summertime application. Now keep your hand there. Now I'll show you winter. In the wintertime, heat rises, so you can feel the heat going up.
Sure.
But you don't feel anything right now, right?
Right. Yeah, because it's above me.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so it's reflected and it's coming back down on my
Right
hand.
back down. Now you may notice there's little tiny perforated holes.
Yeah.
That is so
that
you
for
do
air?
that is so you don't have a moisture barrier.
Oh, okay.
How do you get mold? By moisture pooling.
Yeah.
This is government code, so that way you don't get moisture. Now you notice that the heat is not going through the holes. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
People say, how come heat doesn't go through the holes? And I tell them I don't know. But what NASA explains is that the heat under a micron microscope hits the hole, circles the hole, and reflects back away.
Oh,
it's really
okay.
kind of cool. So
is it the size of the hole also that stops the heat from going through?
Yeah, well, the heat circles it and reflects away, but it's
Okay.
meant to just protect your home or business from moisture.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you two chambers. So as you can see, the temperature, right about 78 to 80 on both,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I'll have you pick. You tell me left or right, which one do you want me to put the insulation in?
Well, you're on the right side, so let's try that one.
Okay, so we'll just go here, and I will put insulation right in here, and you see the temperature.
Yes.
And then I will turn on this.
Okay.
Okay, and it'll take about, I'd say, 5 minutes. So
Okay.
we'll just discuss the process and what is happening right now. But this will take about 5 minutes to heat up because your insulation is soaking up heat. So to recap, when people talk to me all the time, I think when I do radio commercials, the number one question is, what is the single most important thing you could ever do? And I don't even have to blink a millisecond. Insulation is hands down the single most important thing you ever do for saving money and being comfortable. People will call and say, well, I need to put in an air conditioning unit. And I look at them and I go, so you can more efficiently waste energy? Because remember, all the air conditioning is doing is cycling airflow, trying to fix a problem that's already invaded. So until you keep the heat you don't want out, manage your environment, and keep the heat you do want in, all your air conditioner or heater is doing is cycling airflow after the problem's invaded. So most important thing for homeowners to understand about the home heater. The home heater is literally the third leading cause of carbon dioxide emissions. Number one is automobiles. Number two is deforestation, and number three is the home heater. But I think more closer to home for customers that they feel is, especially if you have children with asthma, allergies, a nana lives with you, and you have a mother or a grandparent living with you, is that when you run the heater, you're actually burning up the oxygen in order to heat it.
Yeah.
That's why you get dry skin and sinus issues, right? So one of the biggest benefits I feel that Eagle Shield provides, we actually won an award. We were called the greenest insulation company in California, is because we cause your heater to run up to 70% less. How do we do that? Because now, instead of you heating your home, heat is rising, soaks through your insulation like a sponge, goes out your roof line. That's why cats like to sleep on the roofs. Now that heat reflects and stays in the home, as you've already experienced. So if your heater was on for an hour, off for 5 or 10 minutes, now it's on for 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's off for an hour.
Yeah, because you're able to capture all that heat and keep it.
Well, just like a thermos bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, reflective technology isn't new. It's been around. It was first used in the 50s, believe it or not, in Vegas. One of the first people to use reflective technology from NASA was Frank Sinatra.
Really?
In Vegas. It was pretty amazing. Then it became studied and studied and studied. See, NASA doesn't care about your utility bill or mine. What they were dealing with was life and death.
Right.
250 positive facing the sun, minus 460 negative, deep space at the same moment.
Yeah.
And this product allowed the astronaut to be 76 degrees, even though it was 710 degree swings going on. So translate to a home, now what happens? Instead of you in the summertime cycling airflow trying to fix a problem that's already invaded, now it reflects 97% of the unwanted summer heat away. You're cooler. You don't run your air as much.
We're
you
keeping
save
the
money.
heat in the winter, and we're keeping the cold in the summer.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And now let's just look at the demonstration to show you exactly what's happening. Only about 5-6 minutes passed. What's the temperature right here without insulation?
130 degrees.
What's the temperature with reflective?
It's right at about where we left it. It's about 80 degrees now, so it's only gone up a degree. And this has gone up 50 or 60 degrees.
So my simple question is, which home would you rather live in?
Ooh, I got the answer to that. Pick me.
You know, people all the time say it seems so. See, people have been trained, and it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
We have been trained to think thickness. See, if you go to Home Depot and you don't know about NASA technology and reflective insulation, you're thinking, I need the thickest insulation. Let's see, R11, R19, R30.
Yeah.
That's 3 inches, 5 inches, 8 inches. I need the biggest. They don't realize that that is no different than a green. Here it is. I'm going to grab it. This green and yellow sponge. So what would happen if I take your hand and I put it on here and I pour water on it? It's going to start soaking up, and in about 30 seconds, it goes through.
Right.
But what if this sponge is now 2.5 inches thick? Take about 45 to a minute. Mm-hmm. What if it's 4 inches thick? It takes about 4 minutes. See,
but if it were waterproof.
Yeah, but it always goes through.
Yeah.
So what NASA figured out real quick is when you're dealing with life and death in space, there's no amount of thickness long enough to stop 710 degrees from coming in. So now we look here on Earth. We go from 50 degrees we're cold to 90 degrees we're hot, but we don't die.
Right.
We go from 90 we're hot to 50 degrees we're cold. So the human body can radically change comfort level in just 40 degrees. So that's why the impetus to change, people all the time say to me, why are we just now hearing about it? I says, well, you got a multi-billion-dollar insulation industry. See, first off,
they don't want you to solve that problem.
Oh my gosh, no. Well, think about this. If you go into a person's home and you blow in insulation, it settles through time, dust accumulation, and gravity, and you know this. Go look in your attic, and you got to keep putting more in. But here's the problems people don't know about. Fiberglass is cancer-causing, and it's a carcinogen. Number 2, cellulose, the ground-up newspaper, that's treated with boracic acid to try to help it be fireproof, but what they don't know is after a year or two, it settles down to the rafter base. Now you have newsprint. So what do you think happens when you take moisture, hot outside, cold inside, vice versa? They converge, you create dew point, turns to condensation, turns to mold.
Yeah.
So you have newsprint. Now what do birds make nests out of? Newspaper.
Yeah.
So remember your parents always saying, how come I can never get rid of a rat problem? It's because they live in the insulation. So here
that's
you
some
have
good living too.
Oh, I know, they love it. Well, so the insulation industry is really taking a slow step, because once they sell you, they could sell you again.
Yeah.
Do you know once you put reflective insulation in your home, it's permanent. It's for the life of the home. You never have to do it again.
Let me ask you quickly, is this is an addition to the insulation that you already have, right? You just came in right on top of it?
Yes, and the reason we do that is because what you have in whatever amount of thickness is still good for soundproofing. So if you don't have any thickness whatsoever, then when it rains, it's going to sound like thundering hooves.
Sure.
So it's good to have some type of mass.
Absolutely.
But what you have to ask yourself is you can choose to slow down the problem and then cycle airflow to try to fix it once it's invaded, or you can reflect away the unwanted heat summer and reflect the wanted heat back in.
Yeah.
One last time, because more time has passed, go and look at the temperature. What is it on the without Eagle
It's
Shield?
160.
It's already
and
gone
this
up.
is still 80. Beautiful.
Real simple.
80-degree swing in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just, we always joke with people and say, hey, it's so simple, just reflects heat. It's not rocket science. Oh, wait a minute, it is rocket science.
It is rocket science. Garrett, we're almost out of time. For people that are interested in the Eagle Shield product, how can they get a hold of you?
They could call us at 1-800-88-EAGLE.
Yeah.
Or you can go to eagleshield.com.
Yeah.
And we come out, perform an energy audit for you for free.
Oh, that's great.
Well, actually, that's $350 is the normal price, but because of your TV station, we've waived that fee. We will come out using thermal imaging.
Yeah.
We will assess it. It's an 18-point audit. We'll look at everything from your heater flue to your walls, your windows, your air conditioning, your pool pump, your insulation. We look at everything. We give you a printout, and that fee is waived on behalf of Kale.
And of course, you're not in the energy business. You're in the well drilling business.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share that. Yes.
Quickly, because we're almost out of time.
Okay. Eagle Shield is a stewardship-based company. 5% of our our gross revenue goes for funding orphanages through Manna Relief. We do City Team, we do Kids Against Hunger, but my big one is right here. It says charitywater.org.
Yeah.
Go to charitywater.org, look at them. They're unbelievable. Rated #1 by Charity Navigator. 100% of every penny goes for digging the actual well in Indonesia, in Ethiopia, Cambodia, Nakuru.